This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello and welcome to HealthLink, a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. My name is Carol Merton, and today I'm delighted to welcome as a guest to the program Michael Den Tandt, who is going to be talking about a program called Self-Defense for Women and Girls. And I happened to see this, believe it or not, on Facebook posts. So you can believe things on Facebook, just not everything on Facebook. And it really prompted my interest. So I reached out to Michael, and we've had the pleasure of knowing each other in a variety of ways and over the past little while, and asked him if he'd be willing to appear, and he graciously accepted. So I am delighted to welcome him. And Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you because we were chatting about the title, your official title, regarding the self-defense course, and I'm so afraid I'm going to mess it up, so I'm just going to say welcome and fill me in about this course and also your experience and how you came to offering this course.
Oh, well, thanks, Carol. Thanks so much for having me on your show, and it's great to chat, and I'm grateful for your interest in this. It's a bit of a long story. I mean, my interest in martial arts goes back to my teen years, and actually longer than that. I started out with judo when I was probably 6 or 7, and then nothing much came of it. And then in my teens, I again became interested in martial art because I was getting beat up. And you know, there's no nice way to say that. It was a difficult time. I was a little kid, sort of physically very small, and I needed to learn how to defend myself. So I started taking martial arts early in my high school years, and trained through high school in a Korean sport martial art called Taekwondo, and then lost interest a little bit in it through university, although I trained now and then on and off. But then in my mid-20s, became interested in Okinawan karate, which is Okinawa, of course, is an island that's part of Japan, but it's a different culture. Okinawa has only been part of Japan for several hundred years, and it has its own culture, language, and traditions. And it's really the birthplace of all karate styles. But the Okinawan tradition of karate is very ancient, very old, and it's not really a sport-oriented style. It's nothing like what you'd see, for example, in Olympic karate competition. It's much more oriented on self-defense and life protection and self-improvement. Mm-hmm. And I became very interested in that, and I started training in my 20s because I was working the midnight shift at the Kingston Whig Standard on the copy desk, and I couldn't go out in the evenings really because I had to start work at midnight, and I found myself just not having really at loose ends. And so I thought, well, what could I do? And I was also getting out of shape because I was working midnights and getting up in the morning and having these terrible, greasy, massive, egg, bacon breakfasts, and it just wasn't a healthy lifestyle. So I thought, well, what can I do in the evenings that would interest me? And I wanted something more than just jogging or swimming laps or whatever. Although I enjoyed doing those things too. And I entered just sort of on a whim a dojo on Princess Street in Kingston. A karate school, and started training, and I've been training ever since. So that was 1992, and over the years, you like many things, you make progress largely by showing up. Like you just have to keep doing something, and if you have any kind of affinity or love for it, you eventually start to pick it up and get a little better at it over time. Yeah. And so just to make a long story short, I wound up teaching. I started teaching some 15 years ago, and I founded a dojo, a karate dojo in Wakefield, Quebec, where I used to live. And then I came to Owen Sound and founded a dojo here initially at the YMCA. It's called Fudoshin Dojo. And my role there is senior teacher. So I'm my title, is to make this long story a little longer, is Shihan, which means senior teacher, or teacher of instructors. And what I do is I teach traditional karate 2 or 3 times a week, and the self-defense course for women that I launched is actually it's called T10, and it's a system of self-defense that I developed mainly from karate, but also from some other techniques that I borrowed from other systems. And it's not karate per se; it's more an introduction to basic self-defense for people who haven't trained in martial art and may never train in martial art, but want to learn some basic techniques for self-protection in a fairly short time.
So, and I do have questions. I warned you I would probably have questions. So
Well, that's okay. That's what an interview is about, I think.
yeah. So dojo means school then. That was one of my first questions, or okay.
Yes, training hall.
Okay. Now, after your name on this information sheet that I have, you have 6th Dan Goju Ryu, or Ryu. Can you explain what that means?
Well, in most Japanese martial systems, you have 7 ranks up to black belt. So 7th, 6th, 5th, and it goes in reverse order. So when you get to first Q before black belt, that's essentially your brown belt in most systems. And then you reach black belt. Black belt is Shodan, or first Dan. And then as you progress with your training, they're really, the bulk of the training of any martial artist happens after they achieve black belt. Black belt usually takes between 5 and 10 years. It took me, I think, 7 or 8 years to get to black belt. And then after that, you progress through the ranks of black belts from 1 through 10, and a 10th Dan would be a master who is, the head of often they're head of large associations or communities, essentially, of dojos, and they're master instructors. And I'm a 6th Dan in our association, which means I consider myself a student before anything, because with each new little piece that I sort of acquire, I realize how vast is the ocean of my lack of knowledge. I mean, I really feel many days like I have everything to learn still about martial art, because it's such a vast area. But I'm a 6th Dan, which means I have 4 more to go, but I don't expect that I'll ever achieve the 10th Dan. And frankly, I never really expected that I would achieve the rank that I have now, and I never really thought about it. It's just over time, I guess if you stick at something long enough, eventually you make progress.
So what you're really saying is, it's in the process of learning that you're getting your greatest rewards, and that the learning is a continual process in this particular field of martial arts. Yes,
and it's the same in any martial art, I think. I mean, and frankly, it's quite common in martial arts for people to achieve a black belt and say, "Oh, I'm a black belt," and I now know everything I need to know because of movies and
yes,
TV and movies. They make such a thing about the black belt that if you're a black belt, it's like, oh well, I'm a PhD. I don't need to go back to school anymore. But it's not that way at all. And the reality is that rank in martial art is often an obstacle to future learning, because teachers get to a point where they reach a certain Dan rank, whether it's 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th or whatever, and then they think, well, I really know this pretty well. I think I'm good. I don't really have to keep learning, and that's when everything stops, and progress stops and growth stops, and you start to ossify. And that's something that my teachers have never done, and they've set a great example for us in that regard. And I'm hoping to never do that either. I want to keep learning and trying new things and exploring to try to figure out different ways of doing things and better ways of doing things.
So why did you call the course T10?
Well, it's the T10 is 10 techniques. So and it's the course is based around 10 simple techniques that students can learn, and we practice those techniques, and then we learn we practice those techniques, and then we learn a set of principles attached to those techniques that drive the techniques, so that people can apply them, so that students can apply them, in a way that works for them based on their body type and their personality and so forth. And I really wanted something that was to offer something that was simple, and by simple I mean, pared down, not so there are no belts in T10, there are no karate uniforms or gis, there's no rank, there's no sensei or shihan or titles of rank. It's just people show up, and women in the first two courses that I've offered at the Own Sound Combat Academy, they were kind enough to offer their space for that, and we had two seminars, and recently actually on 2 Saturday afternoons, and it was a lot of fun. And the idea is just for people to come and train and work out, and we have the program begins with a hard workout, so it's like a kind of a boot camp or a combination of core training, strength training, flexibility, and cardio. So we do that for the first third of the program, and then we work on techniques. So a lot of striking, punching, learning how to punch, kick, different ways of striking using different parts of the body. And then we work on takedowns. So how to take somebody from a standing position when they're being aggressive to you, to putting them on the ground, and as quickly and effectively as possible. And it's very practical.
Yeah.
No fuss, no muss, no frills, just pure self-defense.
So you chose a certain age group of women?
No.
Okay.
Anybody of any age can benefit from learning. Okay. Different age groups will focus and practice the art in different ways. I mean, so if for example, if somebody has mobility issues, they're going to be and they're God forbid, in a situation where they have to defend themselves, they'll be doing different things than somebody would who's 17 and and on the track team. You would have to, the person would have to apply the techniques to their own situation, but that is always possible with martial arts, so it's pretty flexible.
So what you're describing is a program, a designed program that focuses on learning techniques for self-defense,
right,
for women and young girls. So take me through this a little bit. If I'm watching the program and I'm either a parent or a young woman who wants to take the program or watch the program, who do I call? What do I do? And do I have to be physically fit before I even come?
Oh,
They know.
Good questions. You don't have to be physically fit before you come. Part of the idea, a lot of what dissuades people from getting started with this kind of thing is that, I'm not fit. I'm not, I need to get fit before I do this. Really, you get fit while doing it. And, a big part of martial art generally is you're not just there to learn the technique for self-defense. You're also there to build your own resilience and to build your own ability to overcome your own limitations, right? And your fears and your self-doubt. And that's hard. It's really hard to do. And so you do it by showing up and doing the best you can. And you're not measuring yourself against other people in the class or on the floor. You're measuring yourself against what you did yourself the day before, So it's very much an inwardly driven pursuit. So you really can't learn it by watching. You have to learn it by doing. You also really can't learn it by speaking. It's not the kind of thing that anybody could learn from attending a lecture, for example. Although there are certain aspects to life protection and self-defense that are many of them are mental, because part of protecting oneself is just being more alert than we tend to be in daily life. The first thing I say to students in every situation, in every class is look, whatever your level of awareness or alertness is, when you're out walking in the street or walking home from work, or on a bus, or whatever it might be, just raise it a little bit and be alert to your surroundings, and be aware of the people who are coming towards you, and the people who are coming up behind you, and the people who are across the street. And often that awareness is going to most often that awareness is going to translate into just engaging with people in a friendly way. It's to acknowledge that somebody has passed you, and you might just look up and look at them in the eye and acknowledge them, and they acknowledge you. You don't say anything, but you walk on past each other in a very friendly way. And it's not being aggressive or paranoid. It's more just being aware of who's in your space. And when you're aware of who's in your space, you'll be aware of the good people who are in your space, and you'll be aware of, and I say good, I don't mean that as a value judgment. I mean people who are not a threat and people who might be. And having that awareness is the first step towards, improving your level of personal safety out in the street.
So part of what you teach is how to recognize threatening types of posturing or approach.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt.
No. You're the one with the information. Keep talking.
Well, most body language, 80% of communication or something like that, I've read in articles and books is nonverbal. So there's a lot of communication that happens physically and through eye contact and through posture, right? And so one of the ways that we teach students to be more to protect themselves is just by improving their posture. And if you stand up straight when you're walking down the street, and you keep your spine straight and your shoulders back, and you're walking along, you look more confident, and you look more secure. And it's less likely that somebody's going to pigeonhole you as a potential victim for bullying or for an attack or what have you. So posture is really important. Bearing is important, and mental attitude is important. And also, by the same token, if somebody is posing a threat, there usually are signals that is about to happen. It's rare that somebody who goes from 0 to 60, from completely inoffensive, mild, not posing a threat, minding their own business, to suddenly posing a threat. It's highly unlikely that will happen. Usually there's a posturing, or there's some signaling. Most often there's a verbal assault that precedes the physical assault, and a threat. Often the person will move into your space. Not in every case. There are cases where attackers will jump out from behind a bush, of course, but God forbid, but that does happen sometimes. But usually there's more warning than that in most cases. And part of self-defense is being aware and sensitive to those signals, and listening to the inner voice that says, I'm not going to go up those stairs right now because I see two people at the top of the stairs, and there's something about the way they're standing that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go around, and I know it's going to take me an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to go around, but I'm going to go around.
Yeah.
And no harm done. I'm a little bit later getting home. That's also self-defense.
What are you hearing from those who have attended the course? What sorts of comments are you hearing as they move through the course or they finish the course?
Well, for starters, and this won't surprise any woman who's listening, everyone who has taken, I mean, I've only done it twice, but I've taught, of course, many martial arts and karate classes to women and men, and every woman reports feeling far less secure than they should feel when they're out in the street alone at night, particularly, but just generally. And the level of risk that women face all the time in their lives is very disturbing and troubling and unacceptable. It just isn't acceptable. And women and girls know this. They know it from an early age, and it's something that most men don't experience. That's just the sad reality of the world in which we still live.
Yeah.
So women are far more vulnerable. Women and girls are far more vulnerable to assault, sexual assault, harassment, as well as just plain old physical assault. And the women that come to the class are very aware of it, and they're keen to learn because they want to be more, they want to be proactive about protecting themselves and not relying on anyone else for their own protection, at least as much as it's possible for them to do.
We've heard as we've moved through this pandemic that unfortunately violence against women has increased because of more of isolation, change in economic status, a variety of reasons. Do you believe that taking this course on an ongoing basis, pandemic aside, would help a cultural shift in the future because women's attitudes about their own personal safety change?
I don't know that I would make that kind of a claim about any self-defense program, because the reality is that it would be disingenuous for anyone to say, oh, if you take this course or that course or that course, you're going to be safe, because we all know that that's just not true, right? Yeah. Or even somebody who spends a lifetime training in various martial arts is one day, maybe going to be in a situation where they're struck from behind or somebody, or they're not paying attention, or they may meet somebody who's bigger and meaner and more aggressive than they'd imagined, and they could end up getting hurt. And that happens all the time. So I wouldn't make any kind of a claim like that about the program. What I think it does offer is a chance for, and by the way, I will be offering this to a co-ed class as well at a certain point, but I wanted to offer it to women first, and I will always be offering it if there are women who want to take this and who just want to take the course with other women. I'm going to continue to make that a priority, because I think that for women to have an opportunity to train just with other women and girls is really important. Yeah. But I think that it's an opportunity to get together, have a good, hard physical workout, which everybody enjoys who takes the course, and then in a collaborative, friendly, safe environment, learn, do some training, learn some interesting stuff, and learn how to do some things that we hope, and the students certainly hope, and I certainly hope, will at least give them a better edge in a situation where they have to defend themselves, should that ever happen. That's the goal. It's not, I'm not claiming that, that after, and I would never claim that after two afternoons of training in self-defense, suddenly, that makes somebody invincible. That's nonsense. And any martial arts instructor or self-defense instructor who does claim that about their course is lying. It's just not true. Not that easy.
What it is just another tool for women to have to help them as they move about doing all the things that they do in their lives. And I'm sure it must have a positive impact on their confidence, that they can continue. It's just one more tool to use.
Absolutely.
So I guess I go back to the question, how do people register? Is there a cost for this? How do they find out about it? how can do they call you? How do they register?
Well, anyone who wants to reach out to take the course can email owensoundkarate@hotmail.com. That's my sort of martial arts email, owensoundkarate@hotmail.com. And the dojo has a page on Facebook. If people want to reach out on Facebook, the dojo is called Fudoshin Dojo, Fudoshin Dojo, and that's our regular karate program, which operates out of Timothy Christian School in room 16 on the second floor. And anybody who's interested in coming and trying that out can do so. We offer a couple of classes for free. And it's a very relaxed and friendly and safe environment. Women are welcome. Women and girls are welcome to come and try that out, or register for the T10, that is the T10 courses I do based on demand. So if I get a certain number of people who are interested in taking the course, then I'll offer it. Right now, I don't have a regular program scheduled, but I will be doing that as soon as I get enough interest to do one. I'll be doing another one. So far we've just done the two. I'm hoping to do more in the near future.
Well, certainly as word gets out, and the purpose of the program is to let people know that this is being offered here in the area, and people, I'm sure, from throughout Grey Bruce would have an interest in learning more about it, just to let them know it exists. I think it's a wonderful program that people can access. We have about a minute left in the program, Michael. Is there anything you'd like to say as a wrap up?
Well, just that I strongly feel that nobody should ever fear for their own safety when they're out walking around on public streets or in their home. And we all know that that many assaults and injuries happen in the home, more actually than out in the street for women, and that's just wrong, and it's unacceptable. It's not okay. It's never okay. It doesn't matter that that we know that it happens, and that we know that it's been a part of our society and other societies, since time immemorial. That doesn't make it something that we should ever accept. And the very notion that that women, because they're physically smaller than men, should be less safe is offensive. It's an appalling idea. And so to push back against that, I think it's important for women to understand that they do have power, physical power and other kinds of power, and that if somebody is illegally and immorally attacking them and trying to hurt them, that they have a right to defend themselves, and if they know how to do that, so much the better.
Michael, I want to thank you so much for being on the program and sharing this information, and thank you for offering the course. I think it's a terrific idea, and I wish you all the best in the future with it. My pleasure. Thank you to our viewing audience as well. Please join us again to learn more about programs, resources, and services available to you and to your family. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Frequency Podcast Network, in association with City News, presents The Big Story. Listen to this podcast and many more at citynews.ca or wherever you listen to podcasts. City News, everywhere.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick.